Hello there, welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug, and I'm back with another shorty video, and the third in the series of how-to videos. I'm going to keep these short and to the point. Today's how-to shorty is on how to fill a vacuum filler fountain pen. Compared to other fountain pen filling systems, these really suck.
That's right, it sucks.
I know, but you keep coming back for more, don't you? So I'm going to demonstrate how the vacuum filler works using this Narwhal Original Plus vacuum filler because it's the most transparent vacuum filler I own. Instead of turning a piston to draw up ink like the cartridge converter or a piston filler, the vacuum filler uses differential air pressure. That's a fancy name for something that sucks.
Suck.
You know, like gas station sushi or being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. The concept is very simple and the application is very clever and elegant. Imagine, if you will, you have a milkshake and a straw.
I drink your milkshake.
In order to get the milkshake up through the straw into your mouth, you create a suction in your mouth with your cheeks and your tongue by sucking on the straw. In the fountain pen, instead of creating suction by drawing back on a piston like you do with your mouth on the straw, the vacuum filler pushes the piston down the barrel of the pen, creating a negative pressure behind the piston. Then the width of the inside of the barrel expands and releases the negative pressure behind the piston, which equalizes by drawing air back into the chamber. If your nib is in liquid, like ink, the ink is drawn up instead of air. Let's give it a shot. So the first thing you do is unscrew the blind cap of the Narwhal to release the piston rod and pull it out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
And as I push the piston down, because the piston seals the inner chamber of the barrel, it creates a negative pressure back here. This area at the back is now a relative vacuum. Not a perfect vacuum like outer space, but just negative pressure. And when the piston travels to here, where it gets wider, right there on the inside, the piston no longer seals off the back of the barrel. Now let's try it with an ink-like liquid. This is not Konpeki. This is a bottle of Konpeki filled with water and a few drops of Konpeki to color it blue. It makes it easier to see what's happening inside the pen. First, we withdraw the piston rod. Then we dip the nib of the pen into the ink up to the filler hole, which on this pen is right there. You have to get the whole nib and feed into the ink. This is important or you'll be sucking air like your host does now and then. So the nib is immersed in the ink, and then I press the piston rod down while keeping the nib in the ink, and the negative pressure releases and draws ink up into the ink chamber. You have to give the pen a second to draw that up. When you first release the pressure equalizes quickly and ink moves quickly. But as the pressure decreases, the ink slows, but it doesn't completely stop until all the pressure is zero on both sides. So leave the nib in there and let that ink draw up. You'll find that you have half to 3/4 of the ink chamber filled with ink. The rest is air. That air is from the feed and the section. This might actually be enough ink for you, but generally repeating the procedure will get you more ink. Withdraw the piston rod again, put the nib back in the ink, and press down. You'll hear those bubbles. You heard and saw those bubbles. And now I've got a little bit more than 3/4 of the ink chamber filled with ink. If you're a brave soul, you can perform my patented Doug Sucks technique, ink maneuver, to get an absolutely full fill on the second pass. Again, if you try this at home and you have an inky accident, it sucks to be you. This is what I do on the second pass. There, the first draw, and I still have some air in there. So now I turn the pen up and I withdraw that rod again, and there's all that air with liquid on top. If you're faint of heart, you can put a tissue around the pen. At this point, I'm going to watch the bottom of the feed, and I'm going to push that rod up to push that air out. You can see it starting to bubble, and you can see that ink starting to rise. Do this very slowly until that air is almost gone and you start seeing pooling there. The ink's starting to pool. Now this is the tricky part. You have to turn the pen back down into the ink without letting go of the piston rod. The rod will want to bounce back again because of the negative pressure you've built up. So holding the rod from bouncing back, place the nib back down into the ink and push it the rest of the way down. And voila, an absolutely full fill of ink. Now you can wipe your nib and screw the cap back down again. Now that you've successfully filled your vacuum filler fountain pen, don't go away yet, there's more.
Is that it?
No, there's more.
And this is very important. Most vacuum filler fountain pens have a shutoff valve that separates the front of the pen from the ink chamber. When you close down that blind cap, you're plugging the hole that allows the ink to travel from the ink chamber into the nib. There might be a milliliter or so of ink in the feed and the section, but once that ink is exhausted, the pen will write dry, as it no longer has access to the ink supply. You have to unscrew the blind cap, which disengages that plug, and you'll have access to the very large ink chamber these types of pens have. This narwhal holds an enormous amount of ink at 2.2 milliliters. Some people see this unscrewing and screwing of the blind cap a drawback. Pardon the pun.
What pun?
Shut up, he thinks he's witty.
Of this kind of filling system. They feel it is inconvenient to have to unscrew and re-screw the blind cap before and after every writing. To those people I say, get over it, use a ballpoint. Besides, the shutoff valve has one miraculous characteristic. It keeps the pen from burping ink during travel. If you fly by plane, the pressurization in the aircraft's cabin will cause any air in the fountain pen to compress or expand, forcing ink out of the pen. With a vacuum filler, the ink chamber is sealed off, and that pressurized air won't expel any ink from the end of the pen. That is, until you open the piston in the air. So, for corn's sake, be careful if you do. You take off with the pen closed, that air in there is now at a different pressure than the air in the cabin of the aircraft in the air. So if you just willy-nilly go and open this, that air might just push ink out. So very carefully unscrew it very, very slowly. Have a tissue near you to capture any extraneous ink. And for goodness sake, don't point this at that little kid behind you that keeps kicking your seat.
Oh, sorry.
Whoops, sorry. I love vacuum fillers. I love this Narwhal Original Plus. Great pen. Vacuum fillers are convenient travelers because of the safety shutoff valve and their large ink capacity. My favorite vacuum filler pen is the Penbbs 456. I have 6 of them. This Amber is a cat. Niangao is a cat. Tootsie is a cat. A lot of cats. This all black, including an all black nib, my favorite in Galaxy, and this one in Silence. Penbbs 456 is sleeker than the Original Plus, and it has the advantage of posting beautifully, deeply, and securely, and not on the piston knob like the Original Plus does. You turn that cap while it's posted, and you're shooting ink all over that nasty little kid. And that might be a plus. Maybe that's why they call it Original Plus. The standard colors of the Penbbs 456, like the clear glass demonstrator, sell for only $36 US at the official Penbbs store on Etsy. I'll put a link in the description for you. And there you have it. Thanks for watching.
I made this.